Good afternoon. In this video, I want to briefly discuss the latest video by Andrew Sluder, and the interviewing this guy, Chad Reese, PBI guy. Naturally, they're throwing out his dates. The rapture could happen this date. They have 2021, 2022. Reese says 2033. The heading is evidence. It's no evidence. They don't get any evidence. Sluder thinks 2033 was talking about the second advent, when actually Reese is actually talking about the rapture happening, and basically bases on that. Isaac gets his bride when he's age 40. And he looks into the camera and goes, Isaac gets his bride. This is what happens when you go to seminary or Bible school. You got to show off your knowledge. See, if you go to a seminary, you learn Greek. You start changing the Bible with the Greek. See, I know Greek. The guy goes, somebody, student goes, well, I've learned Greek for 4 years. I better go use it. PBI do the same thing. They learned all this little stuff. Look at this, look at that, look at this, look at that. And that's what he's doing here. And then you ask him, what's your opinion? It comes down to the opinion. The title says evidence. There's no evidence. Or Sluder says, well, no, we're not told anywhere that we can't know the day of the rapture. You're not told anywhere you can. And you're supposed to search things out. And Sluder admits in this thing, says Jesus can come back tonight. Yeah, that's it. So he said, what's the purpose of this? They're like Robert Blake. Robert Blake does the same game. He said, oh, it's just so exciting. And look at this, look at that, but the whole idea was like Ruckman said, well, you only have so much time because it can't happen any later than this date. Ruckman, like year 2000, they use the creation calendar. It can't happen any later than 2000, so you better get to work for the Lord. Because 2000's coming, and then be 1993, the rapture is going to happen, because 2000's definitely, if the calendar is correct, the second advent is going to happen. And at the end, you see, he spends most of the time talking about it. 7 means, the day of the Lord, and 6 means, the day of man, and tells you, this is all throwing out knowledge that people know about. And the idea is Larkin explained this, that the church age was a valley. He has the prophets looking at the first advent and the second advent, and the church age being a valley. They didn't understand the church age. They didn't know anything about the church age. That's going to stop these guys. Not going to stop these guys. And Baker and all of the students, Baker and students of this guy Reese and the guy, another thing, the big mistake is they used to talk about Matthew 24 with the fig tree, and they keep talking about the fig tree like it's the birth of Israel. It's not the birth of Israel. How do we know that? Because in Luke 21:29, you've got a companion verse where it talks about, and Hoffman doesn't mention the companion verse. He gives a heading, this is self-righteous Israel. They use that as an illustration. Sometimes the fig tree can't mean Israel, but not in its context, because it's a companion verse. It tells you, look at the sign of fig tree and other trees. It's to tell that generation who's in the tribulation that these things are going to happen quickly. Learn the parable of the fig tree. When things happen, it's going to happen very quickly in tribulation. All those signs are going to happen very quickly. Fig tree, so people try to figure generation. What's generation? Israel's back in the land, so what's the generation? And they ignore. They never tell you Luke 21:29. The fig tree doesn't represent Israel, because that means we would have been looking for the creation of Israel before we were looking at the rapture. Tribulation, dispensationalists say, well, when's Israel going to get back on land? So we can count the generations. And generation can be 40 years, it can be 70 years, it can be 100 years in the Bible, people. So Sluder brings this thing, well, about times of strength, in Psalm 90. So it'll be 10 years later than that, in 2021, 2020. They don't know nothing. They don't know anything. And he says, Jesus, come back today. There you go. So I just stop and watch the video, watch the nonsense, PBI double talk, Gene Kim, Robert Blake, Andrew Sluder. Now this guy Reese, and I'll get complaints. Stop picking on Andrew Sluder. Lie after lie after lie. And they think, but this is fun, people. It's fun to think of this, and look at this, and look at that. Now one part of it's edifying. It can't be any later than this, because look at Isaac got his bride at 40 years old. Let's stop put this up. Watch it yourself, people. You don't believe me. There's no evidence. That's why he says, well, what's your opinion on when this can return? Well, my opinion is, I don't care about your opinion. sitting there. And, it goes back there. And then they subtract the 7. They always try to look at the second advent. They always try to get to 7 years. You don't know what time period after the rapture is going to be before the prophetic clock starts again. The prophetic clock is stopped. All the prophecies have stopped until the rapture. The next prophetic event is going to be the rapture. That's why you can't time anything. But they look at the fig tree and look at the rapture. It can't happen any later than this. It can't happen any later than that. 100 years. 100. Every gets 2048 and subtract 7 years, it'd be 2041. Okay, so what does that prove? Nothing, because the fig tree doesn't represent Israel. Rapture is imminent. That's what's supposed to excite you. You wake up every day knowing this could be the day. Not someone telling you, looking for some day, trying to show off his Bible knowledge, like Robert Breaker does, like Gene Kim does. All these guys who want to give you a date. Anybody gives you a date or tries to give you a possible date. See, that's how to get around it. Like all these Robert Breaker people. He never gave you a date. It could possibly happen. It could possibly happen any day. So it's meaningless. Meaningless. Well, if this is correct, then this will happen. If this is correct, this might happen. And I think this number and this look at this and look at that, and look. This is what they talk about among themselves. See, Robert Breaker and these guys get all together. They want to show off their knowledge. Yeah, do you see the scriptures? Look at that scripture. Look at that. Yeah, I'm a real Bible believer. Look at this. Look at this. Let's stop and put this up. Amen. Thank you.